I'll be fine.
I don't remember giving lessons to a lady that was 8 months pregnant.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into P7-2. Yeah, not, maybe it is PR. It is PR. PR 7-2A.
There's so many lines on this. Oh.
Just one by one, just work through it. All right, so the first thing we're going to have to do here on May 1st, what does it say? We establish a petty cash fund of $800. So what's the journal transaction that we're going to have to make there? So I'll start up here. So what are we going to debit?
Oh, debit?
Well, so you're saying we're going to credit cash? We're going to have to pull it out somewhere, right? And then what you would do is actually debit petty cash. We're taking it out of regular cash and putting it in petty cash. So we're subtracting out this cash and adding to this cash. So it was $800?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 800 and 800. So that was the first transaction. On May 10th, the cash sales for the day, according to the cash register records, totaled $33.45. The actual cash received was $33.58. So, remember that problem we did a little earlier? So, what's the first? What are we going to debit? Here's that problem of 18, was it? This would be actual. Yeah, so it'd be cash. And then we would have cash, remember, short or over. And you may see it written without the parentheses, but I just like to put them there. And then, what are we crediting? Sales. Sales. Those are our sales. So what was our cash that we actually had on hand? $33.58. And what was our sales that we actually showed? Or wait, no. What was that, the sales?
Wait, the actual cash received was $33.58.
Okay.
The records from the register shows $33.45.
$33.45. All right. So we can tell here that this is greater than this one. So we're going to have to put it over here. So because we're over, we have more cash than we have in sales. So we're over. So the difference there is, it's like it's 13. Yeah.
So if it's short, it goes on the debit side. If it's over or higher, it goes
Yeah.
on the credit side.
Yeah, it's over this side, short from this side.
Okay.
And you can just basically, remember, we got to balance this anyways. So that's just another way of looking at it. If we got to balance it, I have to have 13 over here to make that one balance on that side. Questions? All right. Now let's move down to May 31st. So on May 31st, we have a bunch of things happening here. Petty cash on hand was $275. We replenished the petty cash fund with the following disbursements here. So what we want to do is then move all of those over. So in here, on May 3rd, we had supplies of $290, store supplies we purchased. And then if you look, we have the postage due, the delivery expense. So we're going to have to start adding some of these things together here. So let's just walk through some of these. So on May 31st, what do we have? What do we have? We have supplies. That was the first thing on there. How much do we have in supplies? Double check and see if there's any other transactions that happened too.
290.
290? Okay. So we have 290. Then what do we have? What's the next thing we talked about there? Is it merchandise sold? Is it? Yeah, merchandise sold. We have delivery expenses. So we have a $70 delivery expense there. Is there any other ones? Think guess you on the next page there, it says 40. So let's put delivery expenses in the next one. So how much is that total? All right, 110. Then what's the next one?
Office supplies.
So office supplies. All right, how much do we have? We have a couple, looks like together. One, two, three. You got them, is that it? Okay. So what do we got in office supplies here? Total.
Well, wouldn't you put postage stamps under that?
Yeah, you can put, yeah, I would probably
Because
put
it has
that on there.
office supplies in parentheses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. So that's 4, yeah. So I put that under there too. So that gives me 55 right there, and then 10 more at the 30th gives me 65. All right. And then what do we have next?
Miscellaneous.
Administrative expense, $20 cabinet lock. I'm just gonna call this admin expense. How much? That was 20. All right, then finally, what's the last one? So any other ones?
Same thing, $16.
$16.
So it'd be 36 for miscellaneous administrative expense.
Oh, there's 36, 16. Oh yeah, so you got the 20 and the 16. Gotcha. So that's 36. You're right. Okay. So we're gonna take that to 36. Then the last one. Now what we're going to have here is that cash short or over. Because then we have cash. We allocate. How much was the cash that we said at the end of the problem? Where it's, we had 270.
Petty cash, or petty cash?
Because we used to pay cash for this, didn't we? Petty cash on hand was 275, replaced petty cash fund with the following disbursements. Petty cash receipts. All right, so we have. All right, so what was our total petty cash left over? So it's over here.
We're short $24.
We're short 24 bucks.
If
What
you
was our
start out
total?
with the 800, start out with 800, and then you total that out as 501, which is 299 less the 275 at the end of the month, is $24.
Sounds about right. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So what was our, so what's our total cash then? So 24 bucks is what you're saying?
We're short $24.
Short 24 bucks? So we'll go on that side. Yep. And so what does this all total up to be?
That'll be 290, or,
It's 400,
it's 501,
535?
yes, 525.
525, 535.
525.
25, okay. 525. So what we're basically doing here is taking all of these expenses and then figuring out how much the cash is gone. All right, so then the next question says, on May 31st, the cash sales for the day according to the cash records was $61.55. The actual cash received was $61.25. So we're gonna do that again. So I'm gonna do it right over here. So 31st, we had cash. Very similar to this one. Cash, short, over. And then sales. So what do we have for cash? 61.55. And what do we actually say for sales? What do we? 61.25. So we're over
Yes, over by $30.
$30. You can see again, this is higher. That's where I came over the over. So that's a credits. make sense? Questions on that? All right, last one, decrease the petty cash fund by $50. Well, since we're decreasing it, what we're just going to assume is we're going to take the cash out of it. Okay? So we're going to put the cash back into ours for $50 and then take it out of petty cash. $50. Does that make sense? So we're just taking it out from the petty cash, like we put it in at the beginning, right here. Should be the opposite of it. And that is PR Sutton. That is the ball game. All right. So questions on any of chapter 7? I hit probably about half the problems that you'll see out there. So they're not too bad. Nowhere near as hard as chapter 6. Are you happy about that?
Agreed.
All right. So in chapter 8, we're going to talk about receivables. We love receivables. But there's something that's in receivables that we don't like. And that's called the bad debt, the bad debt allowance. Because sometimes people aren't able to pay us for whatever the reasons are. Companies may be going bankrupt or other things happening, they're not able to pay us. And so we have to make allowances, and we have to kind of figure those out. Sometimes it's kind of an educated guess, kind of go what's happened in the past with a lot of these customers and take a look at all those things. And we got to kind of guess how much is not going to be paid. And so a lot of times it's maybe 2 or 3%. Hopefully it's not much more than that. If it gets too high, it can be very, very difficult for our company to run. All right, so let's take a look at some of the problems in this chapter. And that's what we'll be taking a look at here is, I'm going to erase this, is some of those receivables and what's happening there. So we're going to start off with PE, and I'm just going to move down here, PE 8-1A. I'll leave the last part up over here, just in case maybe you're copying that down. All right, so we're going to spend some time journaling in this chapter. Your favorite stuff, right? All right. So read the question here. It says, journalize the following transactions using the direct write-off method of accounting for uncollectible receivables. So we're directly writing that off to that customer account. So we received $800 from Leo Jurgensen and wrote off the remainder owed of $2,400 as uncollectible. Because what may have happened is this company is going bankrupt and they can give us only 25 cents on the dollar. And that's what they gave us. They gave us a quarter of what they owed us, it looks like here. So that's why this may have happened. So what's the first thing we're going to do here? Any thoughts? Let me give you some hints. It is on page 364.
So cash.
Yes, cash, because remember we received cash in for this. That was what the first part of the statement said. We received cash in, so we're going to do cash. So we have cash, and we received $800. That's right. Then what do we have? Okay, we're going to have accounts receivable because he's paying his account.
Bad debt expense.
Yeah, we're going to do bad debt expenses also. And that was, I'm just going to put jerk. That person. And then we have, you said jerk.
I thought you said two. That's okay.
Jurgensen, was it Jurgensen or something?
Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Jurgensen.
I wasn't really trying to call him a jerk.
That's what I thought.
Sorry if I didn't sound like that. So we have $2,400 of bad debt expense. So he really owed us $3,200. So what we're saying now is, you no longer owes us $3,200 because either you just can't pay that, whatever happened there. So we're wiping that out, and then we have this bad debt expense. So that obviously hits us pretty hard. That's a higher expense that we have. So we're going to take that away from our sales and our income statement. And then we have our cash that we got in for that portion, 25% of what was owed to us. So questions on how we came up with that? Again, that's on page 364. There's a good example there. Now, Mr. Jurgensen decides to reinstate and actually pays it all. So we've got to now fix some things. This was on February 2nd. What was the date in there? It was well, it was Tuesday. This is May 3rd. Okay. So May 3rd. So first thing we got to reinstate his account, right? That's the first thing we need to do. Before we even get the cash in, we got to make sure we put his account back to the way it was. So what we're going to do here is, because he paid 800 of this, he owes us 2,400, right? So what we're going to do now is reinstate his account to accounts receivable. That's sure. And then 2,400. And then we are going to eliminate that bad debt expense, because that is now no longer bad debt, right?
That's good.
Is that?
It's all good.
It's all good now. So now, this is one time where we'll actually have a credit for that bad debt expense because we're backing it out. So now, that's zero, our bad debt expense, it's not there anymore. That's a zero. And he owes us 2,400, he's paid us 832. We good? All right.
Just out of curiosity, that debt expense is considered a liability?
It's an expense, though, so that's in the income statement. So it go against our sales.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so it would go into that, and so it would lower what we made. All right, so what's the last part here then? Because we reinstated it, now he's paid us, right? So now we get in cash for this, and then his accounts receivable, once we get that in, we get rid of the rest of it. So 2,400. So again, now he owes us nothing because he's paid it all up.
Paid the cash.
Yeah, he paid the cash. So now our cash, if you look at it, has 3,200. It went up by because that's all the money he owes us. Our bad debt expenses are gone, and his accounts receivable are now zero.
Now it's free
He's free to spend more money with
as
us.
far. Except we'll be skeptical the second time around.
Exactly.
Once bitten,
Because
twice
we
shy.
know he just lost all that money because he couldn't pay us. But he must have found a check somewhere or something like that. I don't know.
But then he became a good risk.
Yeah.
Paid it off.
All right, so questions on how we came up with all those? Questions at all? Pretty good? So that's on page 364. Once again, it's a good sample of that one. Example of that, excuse me. All right. So next one we're going to work on is 8-6A, PE 8-6A, which is on page 386. I'll let you guys take a look at the problem there. Well, is that okay to erase?
Yes.
All right. What's this one?
And this one's gonna take a while. I forgot about this one.
All accounting takes a while. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it does take a while.
It takes me a good hour. I have to spend it every night. We don't have books to be able to put stuff into. Everything's manual.
When you work out, everything's manual.
Yeah. And then once I get done doing it manually, then I enter it into our system and go, we got this number and we got this number. And I've got to make sure that what I have on file is exactly what their system is saying is right. And if it balances, great. If not, then I gotta go back through all the paperwork and find the errors manually.
Oh my God, I did that.
Actually, I think I put the
It
wrong
drives
one
me
up there.
crazy. Drives me crazy. I can usually find it pretty quick though. It's on our spreadsheets, it's done in blocks.
Which one did that?
This is what kills me.
If one block bounces out,
There's one over.
Yeah.
Now, let's just take what's in there.
That's a lot.
All right.
Where is that?
I already did. But it didn't treat me after I read a couple.
All right, so let's take a look here.
I know.
So the first asks us to determine the accounts receivable turnover from 2013 to 2014. All right, you guys remember how to do this stuff? All right, so it's on page 377. I can tell you that too, but it should. So 377, it kind of has a good outline for you how to do that. So as you can see, in the middle part of the page, that's how you do the accounts receivable. I'm kind of writing it out kind of like they have there. All right, so our net sales equals 2, 5, 1, 2, 0, 0. And I didn't put net sales there, did I? All right, everybody follow me here? So all I did was put the net sales here. Then I'm going to take the beginning and the end accounts receivable. The reason I'm doing that is I'm going to have to figure out what the average is. So I have 300,000 and then 340. If I take the average of that, it should be 320. And then we go to divide by 2. And over here, 280 and 300. And the average of that would be 290. So how we doing? Okay, do you remember back, I think it was in chapter 5, we kind of did some of these things here. So what's our turnover then? For the first one, 2014, let's just do 14 first. Left side. Remember how to do that?
Divide 320 by 365 days.
We're just doing the turnover, how many times it turned over, that's
Is
all.
it 320 divided by 2.912?
Yeah. So we're going to divide these two here, these two here.
And that's for the turnover?
Yeah, for the turnover. This will come down to here. This will come down to here. So, what'd you guys come up with the first one here? Anybody do it yet? We'll do the sales, which is the next part of that, number of days in sales.
So average or accounts receivable is right under net sales, that's supposed to be blank, right? Because then the 30,000 is the beginning, 3.
Yeah, that's blank. This is just a line here.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the beginning, this is the ending, this is the average of accounts receivable, yes, that's correct. I'm sorry, because I crunched it a little bit there. So with that, looks like we come up with not quite 10, but what, 9? 9.1, okay. And then over here,